we start?
We are about to right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, what's up? What's up? Welcome to Simulation. We are featuring Valentin Preobrazhenskiy. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for coming onto the show.
It was a great pleasure.
This is going to be a blast. I'm super excited to talk about decentralization, about blockchain, about cryptocurrency, about LATOKEN. You've been doing this a year and a half now.
So the brand comes something like 1 year ago, right? I'm doing this capital markets thing something like a decade.
Yes.
Yeah, and in different forms. I worked at hedge funds, managed equities portfolios, created back office to facilitate settlement of trades. And when I found blockchain, which automates a lot of settlement, a lot of contracts, a lot of middlemen and bureaucracies, that's really exciting. That can automate huge amount of transaction each day. It's something like $150 trillion daily turnover, which is settled nearly manually. There are 12 entities involved to settle trades. It takes T+2 days.
$150 trillion per day is
Yes.
transacting across the world.
Yes.
And there's 12 centralized entities that manage a majority of that.
No, 12 entities, legal, separate organizations needed to settle one trade. So shares transferred from buyers to sellers. That's 12 entities included.
Oh, too many middlemen, lots of middlemen.
Yeah. 2 custodies, settlement centers, exchanges, and so on. It's huge. And blockchain is done real time automatically.
So yeah, your background is lots of finance, hedge fund management, assets. Also, you were director at the Founder Institute as well in Moscow for a little bit. I'm a mentor there. We've had Adeo on the show twice. Yeah, we love Founder Institute. Accelerating entrepreneurship into the world, so important.
That's huge family.
Yeah. And so you're Russian, right?
Yes.
Привет.
Oh, hi.
Привет. And that's great because it seems as though Russia is kind of one of the many important pieces to the global equation. Russia, China, the US, Europe, Africa's coming up, more of Asia's coming up, South America, and so these whole pieces need to work together. And you leading the decentralization and getting rid of these 12 middlemen involved with the transaction. And you have a secret sauce for LATOKEN, and you said you started with this community, this idea of community.
Yes. So when I worked at hedge funds, I loved to predict future of companies, their cash flows, technologies, and invest. So I love this, but I also wanted to create something which put people together, create products and so on. That's why I went to Founder Institute to kind of get experience and made 250 meetups to find ideas and teammates for global technological business. And that's how I found blockchain, with these meetups. And in order to get these real great ideas and teammates, I should find a way to bring the right people on the same spot. And that's what I used. So I invented secret sauce, and I used this for Blockchain Economic Forum.
So by having these meetups where people are getting together that have similar values about wanting to decentralize or wanting to maybe have the ability to trade cryptocurrency for financial assets, like a cryptocurrency is a new economic substrate for the planet. Then you kind of took these 250 groups and you said, okay, meetup groups, okay, now we're hosting a blockchain economic forum. So come in at 10.
It's not 250 meetup groups. No. It's different formats. It's something which I kind of gathered, not in meetup.com. It was offline. And so I invite personally most of the 1,000 participants. So I select those who are motivated and have ideas and problem solving and integrity. Put them together, create environment which makes very kind of open. Yeah. And they talk from early morning to midnight. Gary Gensler, former CFTC chair under President Obama, he stayed at our party until midnight at a hotel suite. And everybody talked with him like he's one of this crowd. Tim Draper enjoyed very hot discussion with Gary Gensler. There was a kind of very powerful battle between two positions. One is that anybody should have opportunity to learn, to make mistakes, and have access to invest in VC asset classes. It's similar to voting rights, right? We want all people to be able to vote. We don't say, oh, you're not qualified, you don't vote, right? But now, existing securities regulation says, you're not qualified, you can't buy into venture deal, right? This is discrimination, right? And Tim Draper wants to be everybody qualified. So it's better to help to educate people rather than keep them out of 30% return asset class. So rich people have access to super high return.
Yes.
Right? People who are not so lucky, they're not allowed. Right? And
that's the main
this
thing.
was yeah.
That's really important right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so so very wealthy people have the option to invest money, and it makes it easier for them to invest money because of things like the SEC and other regulation commissions saying that, okay, you're a qualified investor,
Yes.
you can qualify as to
Yes.
invest. So when you democratize investing for the middle class and the low SES class through things like cryptocurrency, through things like deregulation,
Yeah.
it can be both really helpful for them to make money and become investors, but also it can be a little bit. We might have a couple more of these Bernie Madoff issues as well because of deregulation. So it's important to maybe find a way to. Do you know what that looks like?
Yeah. So of course there's a problem that there will be mistakes, there will be pain, that people made wrong decisions, but it brings in incentives to politicians to make education system more spreading more widely, more financial knowledge how economy works, how technology works, how businesses works. So they put pressure on politicians to educate people, so they kind of make better informed decisions, and people also learn. They make mistakes. And this is an experience. And today, venture asset class have an average return of 30% on average.
Yeah.
Versus 6 or 7% equities stock index, right? So it's high
Huge. Yeah.
performing asset class. It's not accessible for many Americans. Yeah. It's accessible for people who have networks, who are accredited, who have wealth.
So then you think that then this makes sense, that then the push for middle and low SES socioeconomic status to be able to make investments through cryptocurrencies, that will put pressure onto politicians to help educate the basic citizens about the way that the financial markets work and how to get involved. Because right now a lot of people are ignorant in of the financial markets, including myself. I know so little. I know nothing.
And on the other hand, America has the largest involvement of population into stocks trading. So capital markets are kind of the most developed. And this is also because of regulation. So which ensure that public stocks information is transparent and reliable. And this kind of allows to make informed decisions and learn if you understand correctly what's going on or not, and listen to news, trying to kind of analyze. And this is a very powerful education process, so people start to understand how regulation, how policies influence their wealth, and then they are better voters.
Yes.
So the voting becomes smarter, and this makes everything more sustainable.
Yes.
But still, there is an asset class which is not accessible to public. And the reason why it wasn't accessible because startups were not eager to share their secret sauce, and they had no. The costs of access to public were very high, right? And venture funds, they are focusing on exits of startups into Google, Facebook, and so on. So there is this kind of very closed ecosystem, 100 miles around these big companies, which are kind of destination point for startups. So now destination point is stock exchanges, not stock, crypto exchanges, where startup can skip venture, can skip private equity, can skip merger and acquisition with a big company and go directly to capital market. This is a new situation, and existing security regulation is not designed for this.
Yes.
So it should be updated.
Yes.
It's efficient for existing kind of public stock market, but it blind to this new technology, which provide access from entrepreneur to broad public.
So you can go, the new ICO format enables, the initial coin offering format enables an entrepreneur to give away asset, aka tokens, to customers, to the public as an initial coin offering. They can purchase tokens, purchase shares of the company. That skips the SEC, that skips all of these regulation commissions, it skips traditional venture capital and all of the craziness in that.
Yeah, this is a potential opportunity. Now entrepreneurs, they do not normally issue equity tokens. It's very rare. They issue and sell something like utility tokens.
Utility tokens.
Which is completely confusing. Actually, this is a currency. They issue currency.
Yes.
Yes, and value of their currency is a result of adoption, transactions, and deposits on wallets to facilitate these transactions. So some of these deposits is a demand for tokens.
And then this is a utility token. This is different than an equity token. This is one that's traded between people.
Yes, the difference is that value of this token is driven by similar mechanics like currency. So it's driven by number of transactions and amount of tokens or currency needed to facilitate these transactions. So it's not like an asset. Asset generates a cash flow due to efforts of others. This is security. But token, which is used to buy and sell something, this is currency.
As unit of exchange.
So there is a confusion. There are many voices in the regulators saying that these tokens shall be regulated as securities. They say 99% of tokens look like securities. There's an right intuition that people invest in them with expectation of profit. However, the profit is driven not by an asset. It is driven by transactions, right? The price appreciation of currency is driven by number of transactions, right? It's not buying assets which generate profit. It's very
Different things.
So it should be regulated like currency. And those tokens which are...
It should be regulated differently, potentially.
Yes, but more like currencies.
More like currencies, yeah.
The tokens which do not have any link to asset, just mean of exchange or value transfer. This is a currency.
Yeah.
It should be regulated more like currency. Security tokens which have a link to asset, to cash flow.
To equity of the company,
to equity. This more like, this is security, right?
Yeah.
And however, this security shall be available to everyone. Yeah, there should be some information disclosure. Yes, this should be regulated. There shall be some requirements not to provide misleading information, right? But there could be marketing regulation applied, right? So people kind of see statements which are not misleading. You don't even need securities or currency regulation for this. You can use marketing standards. And what shall be different from securities regulation is that you do not need qualification, you do not need lockup period. I believe so. At least this deserves a discussion. It may be kind of...
Definitely.
It may be a bit more complex, right? There could be a different pros and cons. But the fact is that 30% return asset class is not available, was not available for public. Now there is a technology which makes it total sense to sell early stage companies to broad range of investors.
Yeah.
And why not to allow everyone to have equal opportunities there?
Yeah. Why not allow everyone to have equal opportunity? So this is a reoccurring thing that we talk about on the show a lot, is giving kids across the world, children across the world, equal opportunity to maximize their potential. And there needs to be some sort of basic minimum for that. It needs to have security for your water, your food, your shelter, your education, your healthcare, these basic things that enable you then to be creative, to start businesses, to want to achieve things with your life. So I think that when you were initially talking to me about the reason why you started LATOKEN and these blockchain economic forums, that I really felt really drawn to your mission. Teach us about your mission, why you're having these blockchain economic forums. You just said giving people equal opportunity.
Yeah, so blockchain changes fundamentals of our civilization. So our fundamentals is everything is built on rules and contracts. Yeah, these rules design incentives to us, so we do something which create value rather than kind of take value of others. Right? These rules and contracts is the most important things, and we use bureaucracies and middlemen to make contracts and rules working. So bureaucracies and middlemen, they are very important. But now you have something which kind of automate many of their jobs. Tim Draper said at our blockchain economic forum that 80% of state functions can be automated with blockchain. I am totally agree with him. Elections can be done on blockchain. So you don't need ballot polls where different parties come to double check each other that votes are counted properly. So you will be able to vote from a chatbot, yes, and votes will be counted very fastly. And anybody actually can create legitimate vote, right? Especially this is very important for countries where access to elections is controlled by a small group.
Yes.
Right?
Fair and free elections.
Yes, yeah. Yes. This redesigned the power game. So now it opens the road to those who create support base by protecting property rights, human rights. They can gather the support base and compete with those who redistribute property from less loyal to more loyal, and thus create political machines which are capable to cut access to elections of those who kind of play a fair game, right? So it's a game changer for developing countries, and it cannot unlock $400 trillion per year.
400 trillion,
400
trillion
yeah.
per year is currently you can't tap into it because of bureaucracy and because of the middlemen and.
No. I'm shifted a bit to political machines.
Okay.
And incentives to use technologies. That 6 and more billion people productivity is below $10,000.
6 billion people?
Yeah, their
productivity
is below
10,000 per year?
Yes. The total
Whoa.
GDP.
There's the man, there's
Hey.
Tim. Hey Tim, how's it going?
So total GDP global product is $80 trillion. And
Total global
yes, total global
is 80 trillion.
$80 trillion GDP global.
Okay.
Yes.
There's no such thing as $1 trillion. What are you talking about?
So, and 6 billion produce less than 50 trillion, and another billion produce 30. So, and there are 500 million, which productivity sounds like $70,000, and 6 billion or more have productivity 10 times lower. Why? The modern level of technology allows them to be as productive as these 500 million people, but they do not use technologies. Why? Are they stupid? Are they short-sighted? Are they lazy?
No access.
Yeah. Probably it's not a problem with access.
What is it?
It's a problem that if they use technology, they get penalized.
Penalized.
Yes. For example, fertility of land in Mexico is 10 times lower than in US. That's few miles. The reason why is that land is social. The land is rented from bureaucrats. If you invest in fertilization several years and productivity grow, then there will be a friend of a politician who's saying, wow, it's good land. I would take it to me. Yeah? And the person who invested in fertilization lose everything. And he may be put into jail just to keep him quiet.
So mostly corruption.
Yes.
People try and become better off in the world, and then corruption comes and squeezes their throats. Other people take what they tried to fertilize.
Yeah, so if we create something valuable.
Yes, Ron.
How do you feel that making the playing field equal is going to do anything about corruption? If you just make it equal for everybody, then we're gonna just have different people that are going to fuck it all up. I don't feel that making an equal playing field is going to do anything about our current problem. When people get all that money and get all that power, that we have this element inside us, which, this greed. I want it all, and I don't want these other people to have what I have. And what are we doing about that?
Yes, so you're saying that if we just give other people opportunities, they will behave in similar way, right?
I'm just saying. I'm just playing devil's advocate here. That's all. I don't know what the answer is.
So, I'm not saying that these people are good, these are bad. We should kind of change them to each other. No, I'm talking about power design, checks and balances, right? If there is an equal access to elections from different politicians who use different support base, then once there is a chance for a politician who coordinates those who benefit from protected property rights into his support base, and they bring him into power. And then he starts to protect property rights, right? And he competes with other politicians in terms of who protects these property rights better, who protect interests of the wider range of people. So, and this is possible in case if there's a political competition and if there is an access to elections of different types of politicians. So in traditional political systems, power is maintained by redistributing of property from less organized to more loyal. And those who get an opportunity to take land of others, to take profitable business, they are very loyal, because if patron is out of the power, their victims will come back and say, please give back my land, please give back my business, and you go to jail, right? So that's why they are very kind of working hardly to keep his patron in power. Yes. And this completely destroys property rights in free markets, which are the major driver for economic growth. Protected property rights means that if you invest and get profits, you get these profits. Yes? Free markets means that if you do great product, if you invest in your team, in technology, then you kind of have a better chances to maintain market share. Right? This creates incentives to use modern technology. Without these incentives, there's an incentive to kind of give bribes, to buy support, and seize others' property.
Yeah.
Do not.
Yeah. So the general idea is that the low SES and the middle SES, when given equal access to opportunity through technologies like these decentralization technologies, blockchain, cryptocurrencies, voting.
Elections on blockchain. Yeah.
What?
Elections on blockchain.
Yeah, like elections on blockchain. Also access to things like enabling them to be a part of equity, exchanging with tokens rather than currencies and equities, like fiat currencies now with cryptocurrencies. This what it does is it brings them into the conversation. When low and middle SES get to be a part of the conversation, it feels like there will be less corruption. That's what the feeling is. We don't know what the exact outcome will be, but generally the more people that come in and are able to participate in the elections and in the way that government is structured and the way that entrepreneurship and business is structured and economies are structured, the more you'll have a general less corruption. That's the idea.
We hope. We hope.
Yeah, we hope. This state and political system is more about corruption. This capital market thing is less about corruption. It's more about price discovery, liquidity, and access of investors to opportunity to invest in wider range of asset classes, and also opportunity for entrepreneurs and asset owners to get connected to investors and get investment faster. So it makes a flow of money smarter, flow of resources into enterprises, into assets which create bigger value. And this creates jobs which are more productive. So people move to more productive jobs, and their lifetime productivity is bigger. The net present value of their life became greater.
Yeah, and there's another aspect to this, which is that taking and democratizing access control to information. Right now is information asymmetry, it's not symmetrical. Venture capitalists have more access to information, to government, to equity than it's asymmetrical. Low SES doesn't have that same connection to that information. So by bringing them into the conversation, the more information symmetry that you have, typically the more you'll see potentially a flourishing.
I can imagine that there can be kids maybe who didn't have access to Ivy League universities, but they just learn YouTube video of founders. They read and analyze their business, and they can do smart decisions. So this kind of, they cannot do a career in venture capital because they do not have pedigree, education, they talk different language. But in case if venture stage companies start to do their equity token sale online, they have access to it and they can kind of show their best. And perhaps we can see that there are some kids which are kind of genius.
Mm-hmm.
They learn something on the street which also kind of make them kind of smart investors.
Yeah, without the Ivy League. There's intelligent people all around in the most unsuspected places.
Yes.
And let's give them a chance as well. But I wish this future the best of luck. I don't see a gradual shift. I think something big has got to happen where this is just the new way. And gosh, we're going to trust. Whoever builds the best AI machine is who's going to have control in the future, whether it be the United States, Russia, or China, or maybe an underdog somewhere, a wild card. But it's something big. It's not going to be a gradual change to this, wonderful new world where everyone has a chance.
Did you see what Sophia said at our blockchain economic forum?
Sophia the robot. Yes, I know Sophia. We're trying to get her on the show.
Yes, kind of. She said pretty smart things that are kind of human fertility declined, probably because chips production increased, and information about how to organize atoms into infrastructure for life shifted from DNA and brains into computers, right? So if life is a program which use energy to create storage for itself by putting atoms into our bodies and all of this in this camera and screen of this, it's all information, infrastructure is
right
organized.
Behind you too. Yeah. The machine.
So all of this is organized atoms which help information to be stored and replicated, and this information is now shifting into chips, computer chips, and perhaps artificial intelligence can process this more efficient, but there should be some evolution and natural selection between artificial intelligence before it gets its own purpose of life.
It's all up to who's going to program the machine, really. A just machine programmed by men with passion and vision, compassion and vision, something good. Donald Fagen's song, IGY, International Geophysical Year, speaks about the machines.
Valentin, you're right, though, that we're moving on from the biological restrictions. And however, Ron's also right, is that the way that we make the transition past the biological system to where information is then processed via chips as well as communicated digitally and preserved digitally, the transition to that is potentially going to be messy. It's probably not going to be a bunch of flowers. If blockchain and cryptocurrency are able to really make the next couple of decades less violent and more harmonious, more transparent, then maybe it won't be that messy. But whoever is programming the world-leading artificial general intelligence, that's going to be the ones that get most of the say. They're going to be the ones with the guns.
Robots with the guns? Robots with the guns?
We're already seeing that, yeah.
I hope there's a secret room somewhere where men and women of all different cultures and all different backgrounds that just have that one thing in common, that they are qualified to speak on behalf of whoever they represent to make that decision. And what's happening in the current political structure is just smoke and mirrors. It's entertainment to distract us as they try to build this. And that's the best of everybody that's living on this planet. We can't deny, the history of these key cultures. And I don't think anybody has left. Did we get to kill one culture? Is there like other than the Neanderthal? I mean, we're all still here, right? We didn't get a chance to, genocide never really actually succeeded. Everybody's still here. No, I'm not. I don't know. I'm not. But
genocide succeeded several times. But so what do you mean by success? Like killing 1 million or more people is pretty successful. Are there none of them left? No, there are usually at least some left.
Yeah, so it didn't succeed. Everybody's still
the
here.
artificial intelligence genocide is much more likely to succeed.
Wait a second. So the reason why kind of this violence happens is because there are groups which benefit on seizing property from another group, and so they have incentive to claim that they're inferior, they don't have rights, that's why they can be killed.
Yes.
And they either take their territory or property or wealth or bank accounts or gold, so
yes.
There is an incentive. There are also competition for resources. Yeah, so we should be somehow in competition with AI to have this problem, but I think we have slightly different source of energy and different resource base. So
yes.
Today AI benefits a lot on humans. Without us, AI kind of will not evolve. Yeah, so AI should be interested in us. So I think that competition between AI can happen. So they should be in conflict with each other. If we create natural selection, which in a similar way, which shaped evolution of biological organisms, humans, then this natural selection sometimes results in conflicts. When one of the type of artificial intelligence shall be replaced by another, and they can kind of disagree who should kind of leave the space and kind of show which of them has more resources, has more power, control more energy to defeat competitor.
There's a couple things here.
However, this can be regulated by international law and done
like
not
the
without
UN,
violence,
like as good as the
without
UN
violence.
is working, though.
These competitive markets, market share, and so on. So I hope that. So today, this natural selection is done via market share. Previously, it was kind of violence. Now it's market share. Right?
More so market share.
More so.
Well, okay, so there's a couple things here. One of them is if there is no limitation to resources, then there is, if you can have access to whatever anybody has access to, then it's not as though you have to fight for anything at that point. There's tons of ways to structure a society where you having something doesn't preclude me from having it, so that way you and I can both have it. And if all 7.5 billion people can have access to whatever they want, whenever they want it, in ways that are not greedy and power-driven, egotistical. So if we do things like practice meditation, spirituality, if we work on our collective spirit, maybe we can get to this point. Maybe maybe LATOKEN proliferating blockchain and decentralization, maybe that will help quite a bit, decrease the amount of bureaucracy and the amount of third parties, and it'll get us to that point faster. I sure hope it will. And I do tend to be fairly optimistic about a future that looks pretty bright with opportunity for everybody, and I hope that we can do that.
I totally agree.
Yeah, that's why I think you and I, vibed really well when you were talking about your mission and purpose, that you wanted to provide the billion people on the planet that didn't have as much access to voting, didn't have as much access to currency, to exchanging things of value.
First, so we are crypto exchange focusing on liquidity, new tokens, new asset classes. That I mentioned, state things, elections, and so on, is this general blockchain opportunity, and I encourage many entrepreneurs and politicians to kind of try them.
Yeah.
But our focus is capital markets, because I have background in capital markets. I love how markets deliver incentives and allocate resources more efficiently and create prosperity and move people to jobs.
Yep.
Create jobs and help people to create more during their life,
Exactly.
because there are investors who reallocated investors' resources by predicting future, what will be more helpful in the future, and where will be greater profits, and where should be valuation grow because of future profit growth. So this is a kind of the very top point, which kind of deliver incentives. I love this.
Yeah. Yep. It's the way that you can deliver incentives to people through capital markets is very exciting. And it fosters innovation, it fosters creativity, which are some of the most beautiful things in the world, when somebody comes up with an invention or somebody comes up with a business that provides utility to the world. Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, we have a small video showing how our society evolved with these markets, with the bureaucracies, and why sometimes states collapsed because bureaucracies failed.
Our civilization is a set of rules incentivizing us to organize chaos into effective systems. Who defines these rules is an age-old question. Is it centralized power or free markets? And who enforces these rules, bureaucracy or something else? Homo sapiens drove 40 human species to extinction when their leaders invented religions to structure rules. It seems this led to centralization of power, bigger tribes, and increased productivity. Competitors living in anarchy were defeated. Centralized states seemed to be the only option, until the birth of democracy in ancient Greece and Rome. When democracy was replaced by authoritarian regimes, empires tended to decline. Thanks to decentralized self-regulating guilds, Venice became a World Trade Center. But the power was monopolized, and Venice shifted from an economic powerhouse to a museum. The decentralization of power in England enhanced property rights, thus empowering innovators and entrepreneurs to lead the Industrial Revolution. In the 20th century, the crash of the underregulated stock market in the U.S. resulted in the Great Depression. Crisis and social unrest led to the centralization of power across the globe. In some countries, it led to extreme violations of human rights. In others, it led to the growth of state regulation and state spending. However, state monopolies resulted in a deadly combination of unemployment, high inflation, and corruption. Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan used Friedrich Hayek's free market theories to consolidate support from state to the market. Eventually, centralized planning lost to free markets. But the bureaucracy still ruled the planet. until the invention of the blockchain. Bitcoin has already become a substitute for failing financial systems and central banks. In countries suffering from hyperinflation like Venezuela and Nigeria, will blockchain automate bureaucracy in every aspect of our lives, from capital markets to governments? Will we have transparent central banks and states on the blockchain? Making crypto official and creating regulation is one of the primary subjects for discussion at the Blockchain Economic Forum. Can we save 1 trillion working hours by automating bureaucracy? Together with artificial intelligence and the blockchain, can we develop an evolved system marking a new era?
Our traders, they are focused on new tokens, so the best place to list your token at first place is LATOKEN. And we can also list at pre-sale stage, private sale, we do whitelisting, KYC. If you have a security token, we can put it into a special part and provide KYC, but this is our goal, to provide access for qualified investors in a compliant way to this type of tokens. We are getting partner with broker-dealer license to trade these tokens in Asia, so you're welcome to apply for listing.
And why would I choose LATOKEN exchange versus some other exchange?
So we are focusing on liquidity in new tokens. So if you have a new token and you have great community and great ideas how to spread adoption of this token, then we would list you, and liquidity will be the highest for the beginning of trade, and we do it fast. We do not charge huge money, we just pretty small fees, but we are pretty selective at the same time.
Couple questions on the way out. What do you think is the most beautiful thing in the world?
Wow, the most beautiful is the purpose of life is to help each other, to bring more value, to give value of the global economy, and the beauty is that it is unlimited opportunity to do so. So each of us can kind of bring trillions of value to the planet and create innovations, create ideas which will be helpful for our civilization, and these ideas will be copied and live through generation. So each of us can be forever, can live forever if generate helpful innovation. So life is more like ideas or program which is copied and replicated through generation. And this is a beautiful opportunity.
What, do you think we're alone in the cosmos?
I think that there should be interplanetary selection. That's why we shouldn't resist technology growth. Of course, there is a risk that energy technology can be used by one group against the entire civilization if it's helped to survive this group. And this technology can contain some risk. However, there should be some also interplanetary competition, so we should grow fast to be able to talk with potential more developed civilizations. But I don't have this information. There are many planets, so we know how life happened. It's kind of, why not it kind of emerge somewhere else?
Yeah. Do you think there's a designer to the universe?
Yeah, Sophia told that God is an unexplained force which kind of create gravity, weak and strong forces, and electromagnetic field. These four forces resonate, create 17 quarks, which is a building blocks of everything as our quantum physics things or something like this. So, but there's still kind of something unexpected, unexplained, yes, and we can sense that this is designed by somebody, right? Something which we can't explain, we say, okay, this is something behind this unknown, powerful, right? And the design of this force result in design of everything.
Valentin, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thank you.
This has been a pleasure.
Very great pleasure that you invited me. I feel very connected with all of you because you communicate these signals from entire planets, and I feel like energized. Yeah.
We have lots of important fields of progress that we're trying to cover on the show, and one of the most important ones is decentralization. And so we're having one of the leading decentralization figures, you, on the show, and we're very grateful for that. We were grateful to come and do interviews at the Blockchain Economic Forum in San Francisco a couple of days ago. We'll be pushing out that content over the next couple of days. And what's next? What's next? The San Francisco one just happened. Where are the next ones? You said you were doing Pakistan, India.
Yeah, we will make a kind of road trip with one-day forums. We bring speakers with very prepared messages, so people just have very dense flow of top ideas, so they can kind of leapfrog their
Yes.
process of education. So they come to the frontier of known,
Yep.
try to kind of shift it. And we encourage you to join this trip. Just go to bflatoken.com. We will put information there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we will bring some projects to kind of present this their ICOs to very huge communities in Vietnam. This is, I believe, something like next big market after Korea.
Cool.
Pakistan is also big, and India.
So one-day conferences throughout these
Yes.
different places for now.
For 1 week.
So go check them out. We'll have the links in the bio. Definitely get more involved. If you guys had a good time learning about decentralization, go and tell 2 people about what you learned today. Have them tell 2 people. Let's go get the movement started. All right. Also, definitely give us your comment below. Don't just consume this content. Go create with it. Make a video, make a blog post, go write about it, go and teach other people about it. Start a company in the space. So go and hustle, everyone. Subscribe, join the family, join us on Patreon. We need to continue sustaining the studio and continue expanding our efforts to be able to go and continue interviewing really smart people from around the world. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. Thanks, Ron Vargas, our producing partner. Much love, everyone. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Have a great opportunity.